chain drug review, and mass market retailers video forum. Brought to you by the Emerson Group.
Hello everyone, I'm Jeffrey Wolt, Editor-in-Chief of Retail Media IQ. Welcome to a special edition of our video forum. We're here at the Future of Commerce event in Boston, and we have the opportunity to speak with some of the leaders of CVS Health. We're pleased to have with us Michelle LeBlanc, Vice President of Beauty and Personal Care, and also head of the Hispanic Center of Excellence. Great to have you with us, Michelle.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
You were on a panel earlier and you were talking about the future of beauty and what that's going to look like. Maybe you could give us a little capsule version of what you talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'll start here where I started there, which is I think there's a lot that in my 20 years in retail haven't changed and won't change. Mm-hmm. And that's that consumers continue to seek access to products that meet a desire, a need, or a want. Mm-hmm. I think that consumers are seeking an experience or a service that meets the expectations of that product promise. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, I would say consumers continue to seek value and convenience, and in today's day and age, those two words can be used interchangeably. Mm-hmm. Underneath those three fundamentals of retail, I think how consumers and therefore brands and retailers alike have changed is how those three desires and or fundamentals are coming to life. Mm-hmm. So from an assortment perspective or a product perspective, especially in beauty, there is a plethora of new brand entrants into the market. So long gone are the days of, I would say, sort of legacy brands mm-hmm. owning the majority of share of shelf. You've got direct to consumer, you've got founder-led brands, you've got influencer-led brands, you have disruptive brands entering sleepy segments, and so choice has exploded from a consumer perspective. Secondly, the way consumers digest beauty, experience beauty, used to be almost store-led in a way. And today I would say that's completely flipped, and it's led by social media. Mm-hmm. It's led by influencers. I use the word friendfluencers, right? The way consumers educate themselves on efficacy, the way they can see before and after from a beauty experiential mm-hmm. perspective. It's really shifted the way that brands and retailers alike have to market to the consumer. Mm-hmm. And then lastly is this notion of channels, and you heard a couple of us say it, right? Like mm-hmm. the only people that talk about channels are candidly retailers and brands, right? Mm-hmm. Consumers are not a channel-specific mm-hmm. consumer. Consumers are shopping channels in the same week, mm-hmm. sometimes in the same day. Mm-hmm. And so what that's done is added like a layer, I should say, of complexity across each of those facets, mm-hmm. which really drives forward sort of the CVS strategy that you heard us hit on mm-hmm. a little bit today.
Well, a couple of the questions for you based on what you were saying. With this explosion of brands and different consumers with different ideas and different influences,
sure.
How do you keep up?
You keep up by having a really sound go-to-market strategy, what you're going to focus on, and staying true to sort of who your shopper is and like who you are as a retailer. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of ways that we stay focused is through that lens, mm-hmm. and that can come to life in a number of ways. I think I always talk about this really unique spot that CVS sits in, which is we have a almost forced curation of our assortment that happens, right? Mm-hmm. Because we are a smaller box retailer, mm-hmm. and because of that, we're curating an assortment mm-hmm. to fit that small footprint. Yet we solve a breadth of need states and wants and desires. Mm-hmm. And so that's actually like a really unique space mm-hmm. to play in mm-hmm. that I think, again, that curation of assortment helps keep that focus, helps us stay true mm-hmm. to what our shopper is coming to us for. I would say another proof point of that would be the way we are doing events. So mm-hmm. we have a biannual event called Epic Beauty. Mm-hmm. And I would say we have flipped that event a little bit on its head over the past 2 years, or I should say year and a half since I came onto the team. one of which talking about our whole body assortment. The event used to be very focused on cosmetics and beauty. And when I came in, I said, well, why are we doing that? The magic of what we have is the breadth of our assortment. And so talking about that to the consumer in a way that is very natural and, like I said, stays true to who we are. And it's a very social first, influencer first event. You heard Erin Condon talk about, we had NIL athletes talking about the event, so that it felt from a consumer perspective more organic and authentic, because it is, right? You're talking to the users who are actually shopping the event and getting their experience.
When you say you curate the assortment, do the shoppers understand that? Do they appreciate that?
That is such a thoughtful and insightful question. I think to a certain degree, yes, they do. And I say that because of the continued, we are one of the most trusted healthcare brands in the United States. And I think that trust is innately coming from things like we curate the assortment, the products we choose to and to not carry, some of the decisions that I articulated on the panel, that just it's part of our DNA and how we think about strategy and go to market, and the consumer at the center of everything we do. Yeah.
And talk a little more, if you would, about the intersection of health and beauty and how CVS broader mission influences your approach to these categories.
I think you could go through any consumer journey to understand the intersectionality of beauty and wellness. And in full candor, I think when I came over to beauty, having spent 20 years in retail but had never actually touched the beauty quadrant, had spent the majority of my career in consumer healthcare, wanted to be careful not to let my sort of history sort of dictate the way I was thinking about beauty. But it was quite the opposite. I would say a lot of the insights, a lot of the learning journey that I went on that first 30 and 60 days led me to where we are today, which is that intersectionality that you're talking about. And so, for example, a consumer wants to have healthy skin longer. He, she, or they are going to do a couple of things. It starts with they're going to want to use certain products on their face. Sure, facial care, that squarely lives in my world. However, that sits in hydration, which is in consumables. That sits in vitamins, collagen, that sits in the healthcare quadrant. And that's what I mean by you can follow sort of any consumer journey to help contextualize that, like that intersectionality is where it has been and where it's going to continue to go. And so as I think about CVS's strategy and our edge in that arena, it comes back to what I said on stage, which is that's our DNA. Like we're the OG of health and beauty and wellness. And so it's a very authentic place where we can live and drive material change for the shopper.
And it seems, you know, you're doing that today, but there's more opportunity there, it would seem to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, things that I get really excited about, like there's a couple of spaces. I think skincare in the past 5 years was very much focused on the face. And I would say skincare of the future starts with the scalp. And like you can see that coming down the pike with brands like CeraVe, which is a derm-led brand, now entering scalp care with a derm-led shampoo and conditioner. And so you see these places of authority, not only in face, but just skinification starting with your scalp to your toes, that I think is pretty powerful. I would say you see that, I talked about the aesthetics consumer, right? So we all know Botox, we all know fillers, but there's a large and a growing population of consumers who are focused on longevity and aging, quote unquote, naturally, but they still, I call them aesthetic adjacent consumers. I think that's what I said on stage, which is they want what the aesthetics are getting you, but they don't want it in a clinical setting. They don't want the invasiveness, if you will, of aesthetics. And so that's like a very interesting area as well, as like efficacy of brands or of ingredients that brands are bringing to market is like really compelling as you think about longevity in the future of beauty.
Some of your stores have beauty advisors.
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us about what consumers are asking them for, what's emerging in the market?
Yeah, well, first of all, our beauty consultants are magic, and they are the center of what I would call a communication loop that helps drive our strategy in BPC, right? So not only are we sort of, I would call it top down, sort of telling them what are the trends, what are the insights, what are our priorities, what are the events that we want you to get behind, but we're actually using them to help us articulate what are the trends, what are the opportunities, what should we be focused on? And it's like a really powerful feedback loop that we use to drive our strategy and the way that we talk to our consumer. What's interesting is I often use the tagline, CVS's beauty strategy is whole body beauty. It's whole body from head to toe, it's whole body from inside out, it's whole body from like access and inclusivity. And I would say what the consumers are now really talking about, it's not just like what's the best mascara, tell me what the best lipstick color is. I mean, that still exists, but it's more, what is the best, my skin is dry, my skin is oily, my son is struggling with acne, my hair is breaking. Like, they are seeing that whole body come through the messaging from the consumer, which again helps feedback our strategy. And so where we're really focused with our beauty consultants in 2025 and beyond is the right education and information for them to be able to be educated and feel confident in how they're talking about those product and need states and solutions for our consumers.
Final question
Sure.
for you. CVS is an acknowledged expert and authority on healthcare. Is there an opportunity to strengthen your position and achieve that same sort of status in beauty and personal care?
I think so. I would articulate it this way. Within places like skin health and scalp health, and I would call it personal health, your oral hygiene, I should say. Those are places that they're so health adjacent that, again, the consumer isn't delineating between, oh, this is consumer health care and this is beauty and personal care. To a consumer, that's all wellness. And I think because of that, absolutely, we have the authority and we will continue to carry that forward with the consumer. And then I think in spaces like cosmetics, candidly, it's a different role. I don't think that we lead there, and I'm okay with that. I think in that portion of the business, it's about being there in the moment, driving access to brands that are in our consumers' consideration set, making sure that we're there for that fill-in trip when they run out and they need it quick. And what I love about cosmetics and beauty in particular is really the joy that it brings to our shopper, and that's where we're focused.
Yeah. Nice to be in a joyful space in a
Yes.
healthcare setting.
It's fun.
So,
yeah.
Thank you for your time. Always
Absolutely.
good to see you. All
Okay,
right.
awesome.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah.